Welcome. Welcome to another video on my wonderful YouTube. I'm Charlie, aka Charlie author, writer, podcaster, as you may or may not already know. I am making this video namely because for the last couple of weeks I've been doing a rebrand with my website and my social media and all this kind of thing. And I've been struggling, but just trying to find content that felt worthwhile, that felt genuine to put up, as opposed to just kind of regurgitating stuff just for the sake of it. And one of the first things that popped into my head was books that made me, as you can obviously see from the title. And I'm 35, I'm going to be 36 this year, and that makes me a millennial, if that's right. So therefore, if you are obviously in my age bracket, a lot of these books that I'm going to share are probably a lot of people's foundation pillar of who they are as a reader. But for me, it's also who I have become as a writer. And a lot of these books are responsible, at least my initial journey before Bookstagram and before Book Talk and before all of these kind of outside influences, which sounds kind of funny to say because obviously books are outside influences, but in terms of that kind of social media effect. So I put together a few books that meant or mean a lot to me, or meant a lot to me when I was a lot younger. I guess a celebration is the word I'm looking for them and their authors. So without further ado, let's get going. So first up, we have Garth Nix's Sabriel. Now, Sabriel, as we have here, and I am very, very happy to have, sorry, it's a bit shiny there, isn't it? I'm very, very happy to have this original, whether or not it's a first edition, I'm not sure. I should check that. But I'm very happy to have this original hardcover of Sabriel, because as you can see, it's this kind of odd shape. I need to get a regular book. I can't reach now, but it's this kind of square shape that's really kind of weird. And when they released the most recent prequel of it, I was so happy that they made it in this shape so that all the series fit together, because as you can see, I'm a sucker for stuff fitting. So I'm really proud to have this hardback original of all of the books of the entire series. And Sabriel was the first female protagonist-led fantasy that I ever read. And it was wonderful to see such a normal, straightforward type girl being at the forefront of a novel, especially when her life and her circumstances were not normal and were not straightforward. So for those that don't know, Sabriel is about a girl whose father is a necromancer. He is the necromancer in a world that is divided in two. So on the one side, you've got the regular modern world, which in this case is set in kind of like World War II type feel, look, era. They have cars, they have electricity, etc., etc. But divided by like a huge wall, a la Game of Thrones. On the other side is the Old Kingdom. And this series is called the Old Kingdom series. And beyond that wall is magic and the fantasy land and all this kind of stuff. And the dead walk over there. They, exist on that side. And her dad, the Abhorsen, he fights them, he defeats them. He's, the next in line of 100 other Abhorsens. And she understands that she will take this job from him once he passes on and all this kind of stuff. Lo and behold, her father does pass on, but in a very, mysterious and unknown way. And his tools, basically a set of 9 bells, who have various functions, is sent to Sabriel, and she realizes that means her father is dead and that she has to take up the mantle of Abhorsen and get rid of the dead that are rising. So that's it in a nutshell, and I absolutely devoured it as a teenager. It was fresh, it was new, it was just so engaging, and this was before I'd ever read Game of Thrones or heard of Game of Thrones. I was late to that come up, but we'll get there. I was late to that, but the whole, marching against the dead thing was wonderfully executed in this book, and I will just forever love it as one of the most staple fantasies to, as I said, to build who I am as a reader and as a writer. It's a wonderful story, and I do implore people to check it out. If you want to look into kind of, old school fantasy, as it were, that's not Lord of the Rings or, some super tome of high fantasy, basically. Next up, we have Assassin's Apprentice. Now, The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but Garth Nix is Australian, and I believe Robin Hobb is Australian too. I'm gonna have to double check that because I got something with Australians because I got something down here for you. But The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. What I don't even know what to say about this one because this book, so this is a trilogy. This initial trilogy is Assassin's Apprentice. Let's find it. Royal Assassin, that's on the shelf above me, and Assassin's Quest. And that initial trilogy is phenomenal. It follows up with another trilogy and then another. So in essence, it's a 9-book series. And I've read them all but 9. Again, for those who are my age, who know what's up, the Farseer trilogy, that's what this is called, is out of this world, okay? But for those that don't know, quick run up, there is a guy called Fitz, and he is basically dropped off at the gates of a palace castle in this very medieval world. This is strict fantasy stuff right now, of a very medieval world, because he is the bastard of a king or a prince called Chivalry. In this world, they have names like Chivalry, Bravery, whatever. And he is Prince Chivalry's bastard. Um, so they take him in, a la Jon Snow, and he, lives in the castle and knows who his father is, but never sees him. They never kind of interact. A big thing in the book is that he rarely ever sees his father, and his father never really cares to see him, but he doesn't mistreat him or anything like that. It's just everybody knows I have this royal blood in me, but because it was on the wrong side of the sheets, everybody kind of dismisses Fitz. As time goes on, Fitz is taken under the wing of the the castle spy, the court spy, a guy called Shade, and eventually that's why it's called that, the Assassin's Apprentice. So that he has a reason to be in the castle and to not be considered a threat. He's taught how to be an assassin to better serve the crown and earn his place among them. Where this story goes, how this ends up with like the Fitz and the Fool and this, it's insane. This guy that raises him, Boric, I think his name is, and then Boric's relationship with Molly. And I said, some of this won't mean anything to you. But for those that have read it, that Boric and Molly situation, I didn't know where to put my face. I did not know where to put my face. And then there's like the Night Eyes situation. So Night Eyes is a wolf that Fitz meets along the way, and there's some kind of warging element involved in it. So he's able to be like in Night Eyes' mind, and Night Eyes is in his, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. This series was not the first, but the first for me to show the longevity of a series and how, with the right building blocks and the right world type of world building, stuff could go on forever. And not in a bad way, but like that there's so much more to build, that there's so much more story than what you initially start out to type, basically. And that was wonderful for me. As I said, strong on the medieval, it's top notch. So if you've got epic and high fantasy, this is probably epic because of how intense it is. There is magic in it, but I'd say low magic. So low fantasy in that sense, but very, very epic. Definitely check it out if you have time. If you are someone who likes dense reads and someone who likes, long things like The Wheel of Time or, Lord of the Rings, then definitely check that one out. Next up, we have The Black Magician. The Black Magician trilogy I don't know why I took all the books down from here. The Black Magician Trilogy by Trudi Canavan, another Australian. I don't know what's going on with me, guys. Maybe it's because they live in like the Shire, like Australia and New Zealand. Maybe it's because they live there. They just know how to write fantasy. Uh, so the first one is called The Magician's Guild. So that's where people get this a bit messed up. So we're gonna put that back there. Epic stuff. Okay, guys, epic stuff. And this one, so where Sabriel was the first time I delved into a female protagonist, pushing a fantasy story. The Musicians Guild was my second outing towards that, and our female character in this is called Sania. Sania in this world, so there is magic, obviously, and there is a guild, obviously, where they teach you to hone your magic, and that magic can be put onto different pathways. So if I remember correctly, you can be basically a warrior, a healer, or their version of a scientist, basically. So you either hone all your magic to heal medicines, doctors, all that kind of stuff. You hone it to be more combative, offensive, that's what I'm looking for. And then you wear like red robes, and then the other is more academic features. So you're learning about the whys and the spells and the technique of magic and all of that kind of thing. However, this type of magic is meant to be only reserved for the higher echelons of said society. Sania is a slum girl, and when she demonstrates having magic, the guild have to hunt her down to either bring her into the fold and have her be on their side, as you do. You can't have this thing if you're not going to be with us, or to kill her. And that's that premise. This is book 2. Again, I don't know why I took that down, but I love these for their original covers. These covers are just absolutely stunning. With just, I like the simplicity of it. Just the white and the person on the front and the title. I mean, we'll see later there are other books that have taken this. I mean, they changed it recently. You know what I'm talking about. But these original covers are some of my absolute favorites. The final book in that original trilogy, so this is another one that extends to others. And the next trilogy, which is The Rogue and The Traitor Spy. Yeah, the Traitor Spy trilogy is about the next generation of these magicians. This one is called The High Lord. Now, I'm just going to leave that there because we all know the words High Lord are just, what has taken over the world at this point. This High Lord is a little different in the sense of their head magicians are obviously called Lord so-and-so and Lord so-and-so, and he is the most powerful High Lord there is. He's the most powerful Lord there is, why he's called the High Lord, and his name is Akarin, and I promise you, Akarin walked so the Darkling could run. The broody, dark-haired love interest that we all go feral for, he is the blueprint. Okay? He is the blueprint. Read it. What was a really wonderful thing that happened last year again is that Illumicrate did a special edition run of the Black Magician trilogy, and this is only book 1. I've got the other 2 up there, but I was so happy that they redid it because I mean, they also did Sabriel, but because I had the original covers that I actually preferred better, I didn't get those. But it's got some really wonderful end papers and oh, there we go. No, why did I do it that way? Let's do it that way. That's Sania. I mean, I personally wouldn't have made them look so old, but yeah. And then we've got some sprayed edges on the end. But yeah, so I was really happy when Illumicrate did a special edition of that. So thank you for that because love it. Next up, we have Aragon. Aragon is about a little farm boy who discovers that he is a dragon rider, or is destined to be a dragon rider, because a little dragon hatchling that was left by some elves hatches for him, and he has to protect her and fight against the evil that wants to take her from him, because Saphira, his dragon, is the only female dragon left. So they need him slash her to copulate in order to have more dragons. And then obviously you've got like shades and elves and all this kind of other people. The Varden group of people. Pretty standard stuff. Now, Aragon was the first for most people, I think. My original hardcovers I have, and I'm very happy about that. I'm glad that the new Murtar or Murtag one that came out kind of fits with this. I've not read it just yet. But this was such a pillar of the millennial reading experience for me, not only because it was dragons, and dragons are a fave of mine, but more so because Christopher Paolini, at the tender age of, I think it's 17 or 18, was the first to include Black people in a main character setting and it be in a position of influence and power, and not make it this effectively this big deal that they were Black. He was the first that I knew anyway to feature us in a very normal way. And for someone so young at the time to have done this with no prompting is just an amazing thing for him to have done, to have thought about. And it shows how people who do write, I guess, from the heart, and from their experiences in the world they live in, that it's not hard to feature the other without them being less than or enslaved or indentured, or people being afraid of, or anything like that. And I really love and appreciate and adore Christopher Paolini for being that head runner so long ago. We bow down to Christopher forever. And for bonus Christopher points, he actually indie published Aragon first. So he is, a sign or a pinnacle of one of us who made it on an epic scale. And even more so because he didn't have the social media and stuff that we do now. So he put in that work with his parents and did the trade shows and did all of that kind of stuff and got it picked up. Unfortunately, the Aragon film wasn't the best, but that happens sometimes when you lose kind of creative license or ownership or whatever it is. But it was fun to have happened, and I do hope that those rights get released or updated or however it works for him, and then we get to have something better, because dragons are popping off right now, and he was a front runner for stuff like that. So definitely great stuff. Taran Matharu's Dragon Rider is like the 2024 Aragon. You know what I mean? So check that out first, then check out Taran and see where we go. I'm currently reading Dragon Rider, so I have no real thoughts on it just yet. But it's amazing. So Aragon is amazing. I did read. Now, lastly, I'm gonna put my basic bitch hat on. And a book that made me is Throne of Glass. Now, it feels very easy to say that, but why I say that Throne of Glass made me is that I discovered Throne of Glass in 2016. And by that point, 5 books were already out. So it already had its fandom, stuff was already going on. But I discovered this book and was blown away by this girl. She was an assassin, and she had attitude, and she was upfront, and relationships, and she went through such turmoil and all these kind of things, which was great. The books were wonderful. But why Throne of Glass? And we're going to have a little thing here now. So we have Throne of Glass, and you see what I'm saying about clean covers, protagonist on the front, keeping it cool. I will forever treasure this book because I try not to open it so I don't break the spine. So that was signed by Sarah. And got a little, what's going on here then, friend? Might have to talk to my ex-boyfriend or my baby and see if they've been touching my shit. Where I say that Throne of Glass made me was more so about discovering Sarah J. Maas herself. Now, she is only 2 years older than me, I want to say. So I think she's 36, 37. But at the time, um, I discovered that, okay, this girl, she wrote, or this woman, she wrote online serials as I was doing at the time. She took down that online serial and decided to query it as I had done at one point, or was planning to do at one point, should I say. She was my age. She studied the same English and creative writing at university. Her favorite authors were Garth Nix, were Trudi Canavan, were Robin Hobb, etc. She was just ticking all of these things, and I was looking at this, the biography on her website or whatever, and like, this woman is me. This woman is me, and she's been able to create this. Throne of Glass for me. These are the new 2023 covers, 2024 covers. Yes, we have them all. Throne of Glass for me showed me that writers were real people. And I know that might sound quite silly, but writers were real people, and they were people that were like me and people that enjoyed the things I liked. Because at one point, it sounds silly to say, but it's like I didn't know or care where books came from. They just were books. Like, I wasn't understanding the publishing process and the querying process and agents and editors and publishing houses and all of those things that eventually get this book into your hand. I never took those things seriously in understanding that there were individuals and lovers of the written word who then put these things out. It felt like this, just this internal, never reachable place. It still does. But this never reachable place that, I could never have access to. But there was something about Sarah that made me look into that more. And I did discover then self-publishing and getting more into the back end of things. And that started the ball rolling for me to eventually attempt to self-publish. So that's why Throne of Glass means a lot to me. Not just the whole, oh my God, hi Faye, and they're so sexy. And, that stuff is wonderful. And it's a beautiful thing. But again, special edition. Special edition. All of that stuff is wonderful. I've never opened these books. Like, I'm taking videos of it, but I've never taken them off my shelf. I'm actually such a control freak. But yeah, Throne of Glass was the thing for me that showed me that I could do this, and that will forever hold a wonderful place in my heart for that reason. And lastly, the original cover. So yeah, I will definitely hold it in my heart for the love of understanding the process and wanting to be a part of that process. So we had Sabriel, Assassin's Apprentice, The Black Magician, Aragon, and Throne of Glass. Those 5 books / series are the foundations of my reader heart, of my writer heart. They are who made me. And if you guys enjoyed any of those books, do let me know in the comments, or just message me wherever. If you've not read any of them, try them out. But they are wonderful, and I hope you enjoy them. So thank you very much. If you made it this far, thank you for listening in to this. Make sure to check out my website, www.charlieauthor.com. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter, the Indie Spice Bible Volume 2. I will be taking submissions if you would like to feature in that. So let me know on the website. Have a good one.